You missed some important news from the LGBTQ plus community this week. To ensure you are current, we are recapping that important news. Here's what you may have missed.
The LGBTQ plus movement started with a riot. Republicans that run Florida hope it will end with a whimper. In this week's SFGN, online and on stands now, I look at how Governor Ron DeSantis and his underlings are taking their campaign against the LGBTQ plus to the next level by weaponizing the state's bureaucracy. Their attacks on drag entertainment continue, with any bigot able to post a video from an event and say it was endangering children, no matter what the content of the show happened to be. The Department of Business and Professional Regulation investigated our house last summer when a child was seen dancing to music. RuPaul's Drag Race alums brought a drag queen Christmas to the Broward Center, and an investigation was launched from Tallahassee. A venue that hosted the same event in Orlando was also looked into. A single bureaucrat or panel can shut these places down. The Florida Board of Medicine is ending health care for trans kids. None of these issues will come to a vote in the legislature. It's the dirty work being done by unelected officials. This last weekend, Wilton Collective held a fundraiser for LGBTQ plus youth that featured drag entertainment. It was fun and family friendly. But before the event took place, it was already being reported. Also, cowards were calling in anonymous threats of violence. Wilton Collective founder Julian Cavazos told me, quote, "We're doing everything right. We're not doing anything wrong. This is a family-friendly event bringing together people from all walks of our community," end quote. Wilton Manor City Commission Chris Caputo was threatened with removal from his seat on the commission for supporting the event. This is how it's happening. When the governor comes after an LGBTQ plus group, it will come when everything is quiet. There will be no video of FDLE storming a drag show or breaking up a pride parade. That type of video would cause swing voters to take notice and rise up. No, it will be a bureaucrat showing up with a notice to cease operations. One LGBTQ plus business at a time. And I write this story, it was pegged on the event at Julian's Wilton Collective because, this is just the latest in a pattern that is now clearly evident. And like I say, these are never going to come to a vote. This is going to be a bureaucracy used to beat us down the way DeSantis has run the legislature. I was at the event at Julian's on last Friday night with Al. He was with me. And inside was a great time. Fabulous drag queen performances, legends from South Florida, and outside was a Wilton Manors police car. And that car was there for us. It was there to make sure that these threats of violence weren't followed up on, and they have been reported to local authorities. And I asked, have these threats been reported to the state officials? And he said, Julian said, no, these are going to local officials because honestly, we don't have a lot. He didn't say this, but I'm implying we don't have a lot of faith in the protections we're going to get from our government.
He said something that stood out to me is that child was dancing. And the one thing that I know about the LGBTQ plus community is that we are spreading love. We're having fun. We're expressing ourselves. And what it seems like is that there's an attempt to attack self-expression and some form of freedom, and they're trying to take that away.
Mm-hmm. If it's at the LGBTQ community. If it's not an LGBTQ event and it's a church event or something, then go at it. They won't come after you at all. That's the scary part. There's a story that I want to actually talk to you about, John, that's happening down in Key West. And it's an LGBT issue. And the governor has singularly appointed the judge that's going to oversee the case. So there's no way of winning it.
Is it an event similar like this, going after?
It's going after all male and all female guest resorts in Key West.
Okay.
It's more complicated than to go through it right now.
Yeah. So what I'm recognizing, okay, and which is I hope it's being echoed right now through this broadcast, and it's a wake up call for our LGBTQ plus community. Listen, we're in a very dangerous time in South Florida for our community. When you take your fight, your energy, my tax-paying dollar, to use it to root out and eliminate LGBTQ plus members of our community, when that becomes the #1 agenda, when there are children who are facing food disparities every single night in this state, right? And when we're recognizing that health for healthcare for all people is, and so where does that, when education is not at the top of your priority and coming after any specific one group is at your, so first off, you don't get my vote, we already know that, but more importantly, we need to really mobilize our legal organizations to come down here and get ready to fight, because quite frankly, this has to be illegal. How is this legal? That this man, this governor, is just out there appointing people to decision-making positions and then passing without votes these types of legislative, rules and regulations on our lives. This is just. It's absurd.
Right. Well, look at Disney. I mean, he went after Disney, and now they no longer have the authority they used to have, because he doesn't like the fact that they supported the LGBTQ community.
Right.
He's vindictive, and he goes after people, and and the scary part is he's looking for a national stage. He wants to be the president of the United States, and this kind of hate and this kind of control, similar to what we saw several years ago with Trump. They don't follow the rule, and that's the problem. They don't follow the rule where the Democrats that we know, the Nancy Pelosi's, followed the rule.
Right.
And it's frightening.
Well, and it's interesting to me because it's like, we talked about this last night on Queer News Tonight, and Chef Josie, you brought up taxes, is that LGBTQ people don't pay less taxes, right? Like, they're paying the same taxes as cis hetero people. They're paying the same taxes and yet are having their homes, their families, their livelihoods disrupted by this government that claims to be the party of limited government, right? It's limited government when it comes down to your guns. It's limited government when it comes down to those things. But on the other hand, when parents are making decisions for their kids, they're telling those adults, no, not that decision, right? Because teenagers under 18 can't show up at a drag show by themselves. You have to pay to get in, right? You have to have adult supervision in places like that. Like, children are not just roaming around at Palace, right? Or by themselves.
Palace is outside though.
But it is outside.
The point is, it's not a racy show.
No,
and
as a parent,
right,
then decide, do you walk past? Right. Do you walk in? Are we dining here? What is going, like, a parent is still involved in that situation. So this government is forcing parents to try to behave in a way that they want while talking about parents' rights. And that's just disturbing to me. I saw a post on Instagram the other day of this hetero man hugging a recently 18-year-old person saying, love you so much, whatever. And the caption was, oh my gosh, look at this drag queen indoctrinating a child. And it was like, oh, just kidding. That's her youth pastor that she's dating. And he is celebrating that she just turned 18.
I want to say this because there's also the rhetoric that it's disrupting the family values. And I question which ones. The ones where you're teaching your household how to hate, how to discriminate, how to not express and show love toward everyone. That's what I get from what they're doing. I think that needs to be much more louder than whatever attempts they are trying to make, because those children that they are raising are the children of the future. And if we are to stop and end discrimination, if we are to stop hate, then we must start in the household, and they're the ones causing disruption outside of the household in America.
Absolutely. And I would just like to make one clarification to my story, is that Chris Caputo was not officially threatened with losing his seat by someone from the state. It was someone who was like watching out for him by warning him that if he supports things like this, that a state's attorney has been removed over on the West Coast. I think it was Hillsborough County. School board members who were elected have been replaced. So it was in that vein. He has not been officially threatened. And I think that's an important point to make at this stage. And while it sounds like it's bad in Florida, another state is looking at Florida and going, hold our drink.
Keep watching the only television news in the world from our LGBTQ plus community, and stay informed on everything that is important for and about our diverse LGBTQ plus community.